Amelia Harper used to be the kind of woman people noticed when she walked into a room, not just for her striking beauty, though she had plenty of that with her deep blue eyes, creamy white skin, and that long, fiery red hair that shimmered under city lights, but because she walked with purpose. She was a software engineer in San Francisco, top of her team, known for her sharp wit and her sharper code, but that was before her body betrayed her. 6 months ago, she was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, a silent thief that robbed her of control over her own body. The hormone therapy helped somewhat, but it came with a cost. Her weight ballooned. In just a few months, she went from 160 pounds to over 400. Amelia had tried to laugh it off at first. Just temporary, she'd say, brushing her bright red lips in the mirror before logging into yet another video meeting. But tech was cruel. Her company, one that had praised her for years, subtly pushed her out. They said her energy changed, that she wasn't a cultural fit anymore. What they meant was, "You don't look like us anymore." Amelia stared at the eviction notice in her trembling hands, sitting in her now half-empty apartment. The sun sank behind the San Francisco skyline, casting orange light on the packed boxes she had no idea where to take. Her fingers, delicate, her white nail polish chipped, hovered over her laptop's keyboard. But for once, she had nothing to code. No one to call, no direction to go. That night, in the dim light of her living room, she booked a random train ticket. No destination in mind. Just the furthest one-way trip Amtrak offered without breaking her dwindling bank account. Montana. It was snowing when she stepped off the platform at a quiet little station in the middle of nowhere. Her breath turned into fog in the cold air. Her long coat, barely able to button over her rounded frame, flapped in the wind as she pulled her suitcase behind her. The town, if you could call it that, was a single main street and a gas station. No noise, no crowds, just the sound of wind whispering through pine trees. She hadn't realized how quiet the world could be until now. There was an old flyer taped to the station wall. Room for rent, farmhouse, $300 a month. No smoking, no drama. Call Robert. She dialed the number with frozen fingers, her voice shaking. "Yeah," said a rough male voice. "I saw your flyer. Is the room still available?" A pause. Then, "It is. You lost?" "Maybe." Another pause. Then a small chuckle. "I'll pick you up." He drove an old blue pickup truck that groaned when it turned into the snowy parking lot. Robert was tall, maybe in his early 30s, with messy black hair that curled slightly behind his ears. He wore a flannel shirt under a heavy brown jacket and had a quiet way about him. Eyes that noticed everything, and a mouth that didn't say much. He didn't stare at her body when he saw her. He didn't look shocked at the way the seatbelt barely reached around her when she climbed in. He just nodded and said, "I'm Robert. Farm's about 20 minutes out." The silence in the truck was heavy. She stared out at the snow-covered fields while he drove, her breath fogging the window. "You from the city?" he asked eventually. She nodded. "San Francisco." "You don't look like you belong in Montana." "I don't," she replied, her voice tight. He didn't ask more. That was the first thing Amelia noticed about him. He never pushed. Just left space for you to fill. Or not. The farmhouse was old, but charming. Warm lights glowed through the windows. Inside, it smelled of pine and wood smoke. Her room was upstairs, with a big bed and thick quilts. The floor creaked, the walls groaned, and for the first time in months, Amelia felt safe. Days passed quietly. Amelia mostly kept to herself. She spent hours in the room, scrolling on her phone, staring at the ceiling, sometimes crying without knowing why. She wore the same oversized sweater every day, her bright makeup still perfectly applied, a fragile mask she refused to let go of. Robert didn't pry. He cooked breakfast every morning, eggs, sausage, black coffee, and left it on the table. Sometimes she came down. Sometimes she didn't. One morning, she found him out back, wrestling with an old water pump. "You should replace the pressure valve," she said without thinking. He looked up. "You know about pumps? I used to write firmware for smart irrigation systems." Robert blinked. "Huh, you want to give it a shot?" She did, and she fixed it in under 10 minutes. He whistled low. "You're good." She blushed, caught off guard. "Used to be." "No," he said simply. "Still are." That night, he made dinner, roasted chicken with garlic and rosemary, and poured her a glass of wine. "Why'd you come out here?" he asked gently. She stared at her plate for a long time. "I lost everything. My job, my confidence, my body. People stopped seeing me, just saw the weight." She glanced up, tears in her eyes. "And I started seeing myself that way too." Robert leaned back in his chair. "Well," he said after a long pause, "out here, we don't care what people weigh, we care what they carry." She smiled, a shaky, unexpected thing. One evening, she noticed his computer in the corner of the living room, an old desktop covered in dust. "You ever think about selling your produce online?" she asked. He chuckled. "Online? What, you think someone in LA wants potatoes from my field?" She grinned. "Maybe. If you let me build you a site, we could find out." He looked at her for a long moment. "You miss it, don't you? Building things." She nodded. "More than I knew." "All right," he said. "Let's build something." It had been 3 weeks since Amelia started building the website. At first, she worked from her laptop on the kitchen table, hunched over with her fingers flying across the keyboard while snow tapped against the window. Robert would quietly refill her coffee mug and slip back out to tend the animals or chop firewood. He never hovered, never interrupted. He gave her space, but always stayed near enough for her to feel not alone. She designed everything: product listings, shipping calculator, even a logo, Robert's Roots, sketched on a napkin during breakfast. As the pages came alive, something inside her did too. "You've got a gift," Robert said one afternoon, watching her demonstrate the layout. She smiled shyly. "It's the first time I've felt useful again." "Hell, you're more than useful, you're a damn miracle." That word made her chest ache. No one had said something like that to her in a long time. One cold Friday morning, a delivery truck pulled into the long dirt driveway. Amelia watched from the window, confused. "You order something?" she called. Robert scratched his neck. "Actually, I ordered you a monitor. Figured the laptop screen was too small." Her eyes widened. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." She opened the box slowly, overwhelmed by the gesture. It wasn't just a gift. It was acknowledgement, belief. Later that night, as they stood side by side brushing snow off the porch railing, she murmured, "You're not like anyone I've ever met." Robert looked down at her. "Neither are you." For the first time in months, Amelia didn't flinch when someone said that. But with growth comes friction. The website was gaining attention. Orders started trickling in. Robert was impressed and overwhelmed. "I don't know how to handle shipping to 6 different states," he muttered, pacing the kitchen. "I can set up a logistics plugin. It automates everything," she offered. He paused, then frowned. "You're taking over a lot of things lately." Her smile faltered. "I'm trying to help." "I know, I've run this farm alone for 10 years. It's hard to let go." She understood that, but it still stung. A few nights later, after a long day packing root vegetables and handwriting thank you notes, Amelia noticed a message on her old LinkedIn account. "Saw your new site. Surprised to see you building farm tools now. Thought you were done with code. Greg, ex-coworker." She stared at the screen. Anger and shame churned in her stomach. Done with code. Because I got fat. Because I stopped being the version of me they wanted. She shut the laptop hard. That night, she skipped dinner. The next morning, Robert found her in the barn, sitting alone on a bale of hay. "You okay?" "I got a message from someone who used to work with me. Made me feel like all of this, what we're building, is just small." He sat down beside her. "Amelia, just because the world sees something as small doesn't mean it isn't meaningful. You're reaching people. You're saving this farm." She looked down, fighting back tears. "But I used to be someone." "You still are," he said. "You're just changing. That's not failure. That's growth." As the days grew longer, so did the time they spent together. He taught her how to feed the goats. She showed him how to read customer analytics. They argued about font choices and how to label kale varieties. They laughed, they shared silence. Sometimes she'd catch him looking at her, not in pity, but with genuine admiration. But the storm hit when it was least expected. It was the first warm day of spring when Robert's sister, Claire, showed up. She was slender, all sharp lines and city clothes, and she hugged Robert tightly on the porch. "This the girl renting the room?" she asked, raising a brow when she saw Amelia. Robert nodded. "This is Amelia. She's been helping me with the farm." Claire's eyes flicked over Amelia's body. "Helping? With what? Taste-testing potatoes?" The air froze. Amelia's face flushed crimson. She turned without a word and walked inside. Robert confronted Claire. "That was uncalled for. She's living here, eating your food, and now your site's suddenly a success? You don't think she's using you?" Robert's jaw tightened. "She's not using me. She saved me." Claire scoffed. "She's using this place to hide from her own life." He looked away. "So am I." Inside, Amelia overheard every word through the thin farmhouse walls. That night, she packed her bag. Robert found her by the stairs, struggling to zip her suitcase shut. "What are you doing?" he asked, panic in his voice. "I need to go," she said, wiping her cheeks. "Your sister's right. I don't belong here." She's wrong. I came here to run away. I've been afraid to face who I've become, and I made you my excuse to feel needed again." He stepped closer. "Amelia, you're kind and generous, but I can't stay somewhere I'm only half brave." Silence settled between them like falling dust. Then he said quietly, "If you go, I'll miss you every day." She turned her face away, tears rolling down. "I'll miss you too." The train station in Helena was nearly empty. The metal bench beneath Amelia creaked as she sat, arms wrapped tightly around herself despite the rising spring warmth. Her suitcase leaned beside her, a lopsided thing with one wheel refusing to roll properly, a silent echo of how unsteady she felt inside. She hadn't looked back, not when she stepped into the cab, not when the farmhouse disappeared behind the pine trees, not when Robert stood in the gravel driveway, watching her leave with hands shoved deep in his coat pockets and something unreadable in his eyes. She didn't look back, because if she had, she might not have had the strength to go. The train rumbled to life. She boarded, found her seat, stared out the window as Montana's fields slipped past in slow motion. In her lap sat a brown paper bag. Robert had handed it to her before she climbed in. He didn't say much, just, "For the road." Inside were 2 peanut butter sandwiches, a bag of her favorite sea salt chips, and a folded piece of notebook paper. She didn't open it until hours later, when the train had slipped into darkness and silence. "Amelia, I never thought someone like you would walk into my life, let alone help me build something lasting. You came here broken, but you also helped me heal without even trying. If you need to go, I understand. But please remember, you are not your weight, or your past, or what the world says you've lost. You are still building things. You're still light in someone's world. You're light in mine. Robert." Her hand trembled. A hot tear slid down her cheek. She folded the letter back slowly, pressed it to her chest, and closed her eyes. 2 weeks passed. She rented a room in a cheap motel in Missoula, took freelance coding jobs online, tried to forget the soft smell of pine and the way Robert's voice dropped when he said her name. But forgetting him wasn't as easy as forgetting an address. One afternoon, while browsing through old emails, she saw an order confirmation from Robert's Roots. A customer had left a glowing review. "Beautifully packaged. The site is so easy to use. I'll be ordering every month. Teresa, Santa Fe." She clicked on the site. It looked unfinished, slower. Some photos were blurry. A few pages didn't load properly. And in the About section, her bio, the one Robert had insisted they write together, was gone. Her chest tightened. She called him. It rang twice before he answered. "Amelia?" His voice was quieter than she remembered, like wind through dry grass. "I saw the site," she said. "Looks like it's struggling." A beat of silence. Then, "I tried updating it. Didn't go well. You deleted my section." Another pause. "Didn't want people to think you were still part of it. Figured you'd moved on." Amelia stared at the motel wall. "I didn't move on. I just moved away." "Same thing." "No," she said, voice cracking. "It's not." That night, she lay awake in bed, the motel sheets stiff and starchy beneath her. Robert's letter lay on the nightstand, already soft at the creases. What was she doing? She had left the first place where she hadn't felt judged. The first person who had looked at her like she was more than a before and after photo, more than just the weight she carried. She remembered something he'd said once while they'd watched the goats munch clover in the back field. Sometimes healing means staying, but sometimes it means leaving and finding your way back the hard way. She sat up, heart pounding. Maybe it was time to do the hard thing. The sky was pouring rain when Amelia arrived back in town. She took a cab straight to the farmhouse, her suitcase heavier with guilt than clothes. The porch light was off. No truck in the driveway. She knocked anyway. No answer. She tried calling, straight to voicemail. The farm was silent, but the barn door creaked in the wind. She stepped inside, the familiar smell of hay and soil hitting her like a memory she'd forgotten how much she missed. And there he was, asleep on a hay bale, flannel shirt damp, arms crossed over his chest like the weight of the world had tucked him in. She stood there, soaking wet, unsure of what to say. Her mouth opened, then closed again. He stirred, blinked, then sat up slowly. Amelia?" She nodded, soaked from head to toe, mascara running, her red lips bare for the first time in months. "I came back," she said, voice shaking. His eyes searched hers. "Why?" "Because I wasn't finished." "With the website?" "With you." He stood slowly, like afraid he might be dreaming. She took a step forward. "I left because I was scared of needing you. I thought needing someone made me weak." "You're not weak," he said softly. "And I thought maybe I didn't deserve someone like you." "You're wrong." "Then tell me I can stay." He crossed the distance between them, gently brushing a soaked strand of red hair from her cheek. "You never had to leave to know that." She let out a shaky breath. "I missed you, Robert." He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her, the smell of hay and flannel and home washing over her like a tide. "I missed you too, Amelia. Every day." They stood there in the quiet of the barn, rain pounding the roof, and for the first time in years, Amelia didn't feel like she had to run or shrink or prove anything. She just was, and that was enough. Spring settled into the Montana Valley like a whispered promise. The days grew longer. The snow melted into soft earth, and green began to rise from every field and corner of Robert's farm. Life returned, not just to the land, but to the quiet corners of the farmhouse where laughter had once gone missing. Amelia stayed, not out of fear, not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she had chosen to. And every morning she woke with purpose. The website thrived. Orders doubled, then tripled. A few local restaurants wanted exclusive deals on Robert's produce, and soon his humble little farm was shipping kale to California and carrots to Texas. But more than that, people wrote in, emails, comments, notes on their orders. Your story inspired me. I thought I was alone. I used to think my weight meant I couldn't be loved. Thank you for showing me healing looks like this. Amelia would cry sometimes reading them. Quiet tears, not of sadness, but of recognition. Because now she knew, when you speak truth, you open doors for others to walk through. One evening, as the sky bled orange behind the pines, Robert found her sitting barefoot on the porch steps, staring out at the horizon. He sat beside her, hands dusty from planting. You think we'll ever leave this place? He asked. She smiled softly. I think we already left the people we used to be. He turned to her, brushing his fingers lightly against hers. You still worry about how people see you? Sometimes, she admitted. But then I remember how you see me. And how's that? He asked gently. As whole, she whispered. Not broken, not too much, just enough. He leaned over, kissed her forehead. You've always been enough, Amelia. Later that summer, they opened the barn to local kids, teaching them how to plant tomatoes, fix old machines, even write code. Amelia stood in front of a whiteboard with her bright red lips and white-painted nails, laughing as she explained how HTML could help build dreams. No one looked at her body. They looked at her light. And they listened. One night, months later, as fireflies danced under the porch light and the scent of rosemary drifted from the open kitchen window, Robert pulled a tiny wooden box from his jacket. It wasn't a proposal, not yet. Inside was a ring, carved from reclaimed oak, polished by hand, simple and soft. I made this for you, he said, not as a promise for forever, just as a reminder. A reminder of what? She asked, holding it gently. That no matter where you go, no matter how the world sees you, you changed this place, you changed me, and you'll always have a home here. Amelia didn't answer right away. She slipped the ring onto her finger. Then she said the words that had taken her a lifetime to believe. I love the woman I've become. And Robert, standing in the golden glow of the porch light, his heart open and steady, smiled and said, So do I. And maybe that was the greatest transformation of all. Not the weight she lost, not the farm they saved, but the quiet revolution of loving herself, just as she was, and daring to let someone else do the same. Sometimes, life doesn't fall apart all at once. It unravels quietly, in doctors' offices, empty apartments, and silent tears behind closed doors. Amelia's story reminds us that healing doesn't always look like dramatic transformations. Sometimes it looks like showing up, like taking a train to nowhere, like daring to be seen when you'd rather disappear. In a world obsessed with appearances, Amelia found someone who looked past her weight, her fears, and her shame, and saw her worth. But more importantly, she found the courage to see that worth in herself. We all carry invisible scars, but love, the quiet, patient kind, has a way of helping us grow through the cracks. And when we plant our roots in kindness, honesty, and vulnerability, that's when we begin to bloom. This isn't just a story about a woman who rediscovered herself on a Montana farm. It's a story about all of us, learning to believe that we are enough, even in our most uncertain seasons. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with us today. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. There's more to come, and your presence means everything. Until next time, take care of your heart, and take care of each other.